Definitely. Right.
Cool.
Hi, Chloe.
Hello, Angela.
Hello. So I wanted to chat to you and find out more about the vegan design.
It's lovely to be able to have a chat with you, Angela, because we've been moving in the same circles for all of our careers, really, and it's so nice to have opportunity to have a chat with you. So thank you for inviting me and suggesting this.
So you started your career about 15 years ago?
Well, started my business. I've been a designer since the early 90s when I graduated as a furniture designer from Trent Polytechnic. But yeah, I've 10 years working for the Body Shop as an interior designer. Was a really brilliant experience. So and then I kind of felt like I wanted to set up on my own, and that's when I started Materialise Interiors. And when I started, I mean, you know, that's 15 years ago in Brighton. I kept hearing about Angela Cheung. I kept hearing about you and your lovely shop. And because I was specialising in commercial work because I'd come from a commercial background. And I think you were sort of specialising in residential at the time. So it was nice because it was, yeah, I just kept hearing about you and never got to meet you. And it's ridiculous it's been till now, but I'm glad that we have.
Yeah. And we're both true Bytonians as well. So
yeah, that's so nice.
Not many of us around, and also the same year of birthday.
Yeah, there's lots of similarities. Oh, yeah, 1990. No, I wish. But yeah,
so I started up my business 20 years ago, so very similar to yours as well.
Yeah.
And then sort of moved through continuing learning as well. So tell me more about your vegan design.
Well, that was a bit of a continuation, really, of the learning of working at the Body Shop head office, because obviously Anita Roddick, who, you know, I joined as the company was expanding in the 90s, so it was a really exciting time. But she obviously, with their products, was against animal testing, didn't want any animal products, you know, kind of, it was a very conscious, ethical business, but their products were, but also their shops were. So everything that we put into those shops as the store fit had to be checked off against a very strict kind of list of materials and things that we could use. So yeah, it was it was just part of me, and I didn't kind of make a big thing of it for a long time because I just thought it was so part of what I did that I didn't
Have you always been a vegan?
No, I've been veggie since I went to uni, really. So and then, you know, pescatarian, and then even some wobbles along the way. So the thing about this vegan word is it's, you know, fair enough if it's all your lifestyle, but even if you look at it in sections, and it is a bit of a difficult word because people do associate it with diet, but there's so much more to it. There's, you know, your clothing, you know, how you furnish your home. There's a lot more.
Does that come hand in hand with sustainability as well?
Well, yeah, because you can't really sort of care about one aspect and not care about another. I mean, it's working in vegan design isn't easy because you have to put in a lot more research. I spend a lot of time researching, talking to companies, and, you know, there aren't always logical things to supplement in, but it's getting easier, and there's so much research and innovation, and there's a lot happening, you know, things like there's a lot of fruit and vegetable waste that's being turned into vegan leather supplement, so sort of kind of mangoes and pineapple leaves and apple and mushroom, and there's just loads of really exciting innovation happening.
I just had the avocado dyed cushion made for me.
Oh, have you?
By a local lady in Hurstpur Point called Nikki Hurd. So yeah.
Oh, I have to find out about that. It's lovely though, isn't it? Because these are all, apart from kind of doing the right thing, it's kind of, there's all really nice stories attached. And I always enjoy conveying that storytelling to my clients. And whether my clients are homeowners or business owners, they all love that storytelling element, and it's nice for their marketing if it's a business. So it's kind of an added value.
What's your ideal client? How do they come to you? Is it for the vegan side of it, or is it just, is it an interdisciplinary stage?
Probably like you, because we've been around a while. There's a lot of word of mouth. I'm very lucky that I get a lot of repeat clients, and yeah, some people come to me because they know me as a sustainable and vegan interior designer, but some people don't even know that, and I could be working on a project for them, and I kind of just give them alternatives all the way through. And some of these alternatives are so lovely that they can't say no to them, and they end up with quite a lovely sustainable interior without actually briefing it in at the beginning. But
so do you find that you educate your clients with sustainability and with the vegan design as well?
Yeah, but I never believe in sort of clobbering people with stuff, because I think people like to experience things when they're learning. No, it's kind of I think it's always better to sort of show and lead and kind of give examples, let people experience things and kind of let them make their own decisions. But yeah, I kind of would rather do that than just say, I'm not going to work on your project unless you think the same way as me. That I don't think that's going to help change. And I think, that's the place I want to be. I want to encourage. Yeah. How about you? Because you've been, I think both of us really, really value education. I don't think either of us have stopped learning during our careers, and I really try and convey that to any students that talk to me. This isn't going to be the end of your learning. You need to keep, because we want to give value to our clients. We want to kind of give the best interiors for our clients, and I know that you've kind of felt like this, and you've kind of had your revelation about biophilia, which is so interesting to hear, and I've read about it on your website. I'd love you to tell me how that all happened, though.
Okay, so biophilic design and biophilia is biophilia, as everyone probably knows by now, means love of life. But biophilic design, it's an intuitive way that most people are designing anyway, from architects, designers, planners, and they look at the orientation of a building, you look at the natural forms, you look at lighting, bits and pieces. So what happens with biophilic design is you take the intuitive side of biophilic design, which is all geared towards human health and well-being. So you pick, say, 15 patterns. You don't just throw them all at the job, but what you do is you choose very carefully which of the patterns you're going to use for which job. So you strategically move through, and so you put it as your project intent right at the start, in the middle, and at the end. And then also, if people need to maintain the buildings or interiors that they have, or the spaces, then you can sort of not train them, but sort of talk through ideas about how to use the space correctly as well.
Because it's so important, isn't it? And it isn't just intuitive. You do need to kind of lead. I mean, I've got a very small experience of biophilic design, but from the Well Building Standard and the Fitwell Standard, and the huge benefit of letting nature into your home, your life, your home, your work. It has a huge health benefit.
Well, especially now since COVID as well, it's even more important. And imagine if you can design right at the start, where you're looking at a plot of land, if you're a planner, and you're thinking, okay, what can I get for free from this land? Meaning the lighting, the air, the topographical, the areas, the hills, the nature, and everything else. And then you put those elements in sustainably. Now, most people kind of think that biophilic design just means shoving a plant in a room. It really doesn't. You keep plants into a room, and I've got lots here, and they look great, and yes, they are a small element of it. However, I concentrate on more about air, water, thermal comfort, light, natural lighting, how we all move around. I've just recently done a recommendation and research project for a local architect in Brighton for assisted living. So I spoke about wayfinding, mobility, how to keep people more independent longer, how to produce restorative spaces, how to horticulture can make can help with socialization as well, and community.
There's just so many crossovers, aren't there? All of these, they just all lead into each other, and it's great because you're just giving very excellent value to your clients' projects by having all these learnings.
People always ask me, is biophilic design sustainable design? They go hand in hand, absolutely. Same with vegan design and the circular economy and all of those issues as well. However, how I like to explain it is biophilic design is how nature affects us, as in our well-being, our health, more productivity, cognitive function, mobility, all of those items. And sustainable design is how we affect nature. So how we build local materials, the ecosystem, and things like that. So they're the two differences which kind of go hand.
It's very holistic. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've absolutely loved learning about human-centric design, and I'd urge all my sort of peers to find out more about it too, because these materials that we're putting into these airtight spaces, they are even more important than ever because of our airtightness and efficiency of buildings. These materials are off-gassing, whether they're vegan materials, animal-based materials or not, but there's a lot of chemicals involved in spaces, and all those, those toxic things are kind of, it's affecting indoor air quality.
I think good design should be built to last, and we shouldn't be disposable nature. We've got a single-use life, but we haven't got a single-use planet, and I think it's really important to think about the legacy we're leaving through to the next generations. The problem is it needs to start higher up with policy and things. I kind of still don't really understand planning in terms of you get a new build and you get 20%, you don't get charged VAT on it.
This drives me mad.
And so lots of people are knocking down buildings and just and building it up again. Well, I think almost 10% to get the building industry up and running, and that's really good. The other 10% should be things like, you're using natural energy, natural light, you're using local materials, and you get graded on that. So if you're building sustainably and correctly, you get another 10% or whatever it is. So maybe you and I should run for Prime Minister.
I'm absolutely staggered that there's an incentive to pull down buildings. This refitting, Duncan Baker Brown is a bit of an idol of mine, and he's part of the circular economy, and he's teaching that to students, and they're the value of refit. I mean, we know how much waste there is in just our part of the building industry, but
well, I've got a bit of a secret that happened last night.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. So I've been accepted to Brighton University as a BA Honours Architecture student.
That's absolutely brilliant.
Amongst my career, so I get the honour to be taught by Duncan Baker Brown. So
lucky you. That's so fantastic. Well done. I'm jealous.
Learning into our lives all of the time is just so important that we just don't stand still. We adapt, we change, and we look at things. So if you were going to give some
well done, you.
Thank you.
Well
I'm
done.
really excited, very nervous though, because going in as a mature student is a bit daunting. I don't know whether
it's going to be a great experience for you, and it's going to be a great experience for your fellow students as well. It's going to be brilliant. I really admire you for doing that. Well done. But this is what we should be doing, learning more, you know. Interior design isn't just about aesthetics, you know. I just think that concept of interior design is so outmoded now. You know, we're two designers that came into it and kind of have learnt and sort of, you know, got into our areas that we love. And, you know, there's so much more than just aesthetics and space planning, and, you know, it's...
The government are now asking for feedback on whether they think that how to regulate interior designers. And I think that that's a good thing. I think you should be graded. I think if you're cushions and curtains and soft furnishings, nothing wrong with that. However, if you can do computer-aided design and moving forward, or you can draw three-dimensional room plans, you have an understanding of building projects, then that ought to be graded as well. So the term interior designer or interior architect is very much thrown about by a lot of people. And I think
the best way that we can both get around that now is to join our professional bodies, and we're both in different ones, but they are the two that exist in this country. And you know, certainly for my one, the BIID, it's very difficult to become a member. They have quite a stringent application process. I'm sure they do for yours as well. And so that's one way of kind of showing your skills and giving, because two reasons I joined was because I wanted to show my clients that it's my professionalism, and, you know, it's important, and they have this backup of me being part of a professional body. But also I really wanted to get onto the continuing professional development side of things and carry on learning and keep learning about the things that I need to know and want to know to function my business.
Yeah, which is brilliant. So if you were going to pick 3 tips for anyone watching, which are you know, to incorporate what you do, or you know, the sustainable side or the vegan side, what would those 3 tips be?
Well, I mean, the best thing to do, other than, you know, using any virgin materials, whether they are animal products or not, is to reuse. So I would always urge people to look around and see, not necessarily obviously the obvious things that you can reuse, but look at all the way through into kind of recycled content. And there are more and more suppliers now of products that are doing quite a significant recycled content value. So sort of floors and tiles and fabrics, you know, you can get a significant value. And if you can't do, you know, if that's the best you can do, that's actually better than going for a virgin material. So
absolutely. I've just got a compost bin at home and I love it. I've got all my worms and I stick all
lovely
waste in there, all my garden waste, and once a week I turn it over. I haven't got a fancy one. I've got to do that with a fork and everything else.
Oh, that's all right. That sounds good though. Yeah, it's lovely. It's just lovely to be conscious of where things go. And I don't know, Duncan Baker Brown worked with Kat Fletcher on the Waste House at Brighton University, and Kat Fletcher is fantastic. If you ever get to hear her talk, she's brilliant. But one of the things she says is, you know, there is no way a way that you throw this stuff to. It's all here. It's all going round and round, you know. It's kind of, and the more we build that round and round circularity into everything that everybody does, you know, and stop waste, the better. So, you know, better than being a vegan designer is just to be a circular designer.
Yes. So the best argument for good design is that it lasts. And
absolutely.
To last, we're not just a disposable, you know, this isn't a niche or a fad. This is important to the way we live and continue to live. And I think the younger generation get it. It's you know, we're both 70s kids, and it was very different then. You know, I remember my mum and dad sitting with their arms around me smoking, and we wouldn't do that now. So it is education, and it is learning and infusing other people through your ideas. So.
And actually, where you say about government and coming downwards, I think there's a lot of pressure coming upwards. You know, the school strikes, and there's parents accompanying children on these marches. You know, and Greta Thunberg is having a huge effect on the young people, and it's putting pressure on us. And I think that's brilliant. So we're getting it both ways, and I think that's a good thing.
And all, isn't it? It's you know, we want to do better. But it's where do you get this stuff? And also, you know, things that have been repurposed and reused on a building site, they've only got, again, one use, and they're not the process that's sometimes being used is just as bad as throwing it away and starting again. And it's kind of, we need to come up with science and engineering, and the way we build especially is really important.
Yeah, that's the thing about cradle to cradle, isn't it? It's not just, I mean, to tackle the product is a great thing, but there's all the other things that go into it, the manufacturing techniques, you know, who produces it, what kind of chemicals are they dealing with, and modern slavery and all of those things. That's why I like the cradle to cradle certification, because it looks into all of that. And, you know, I mean, when I worked at the Body Shop, there was the most wonderful team of people that helped us to select things and vet factories, and they were called business ethics. And it was the most lovely sort of team working. But now I'm working on my own, and, you know, I need all these things like cradle to cradle and all the certifications to help me, because I'm not able to put the time in to quiz all these suppliers, and I'm a one person company. So, you know,
it's hard, isn't it? But you know, every voice makes a difference. So
yes, I think
so excited. I asked you one question and forgot to ask you the other two.
Well, I was gonna, so that's leading on to my other two sort of tips, really. So the second tip is to look for FSC or PEFC timber whenever you're using a timber or a paper product. So Forestry Stewardship Council is the UK one, FSC. So you'll notice it a lot around, and I'm sure you know all about it, but just for people that are watching. So, you know, building material timber is pretty much all sustainable timber, FSC, PEFC. But some of the things that we as designers are using, you know, furniture, you have to ask those questions, and sometimes it takes suppliers quite a long time to come back and tell you. So it always makes me think that they're coming from a dubious source. And if you're not having that certification, it's very likely that timber is coming from a forest that isn't well managed, where they're not replanting when they take trees down, that the people involved are working unsafely, and they're taking away natural habitats for animals. So it's kind of, it's worth asking that question. And I kind of, it's a bit of a pet.
Absolutely. You know,
top
even
tip,
the
really.
Forestry Commission is advising people to plant more trees in their gardens and landscape design, because we're going to need the shade as well. So that's really important. And the way we cut trees down and the way we look after them, again, it's just being a bit more careful, isn't it?
Yeah, and I plant trees for clients when I get a job. I plant trees for clients when I finish a job. It's just a nice thing to do anyway. But the other tip, just from a vegan side of things, is there are still paint manufacturers that have animal tested ingredients. So in the same way that anybody, whether they're vegan or not, doesn't want to use animal tested toiletries or you know, cleaning products, just to make people aware that, you know, there are better paint companies than others, and that's another question that you really need to ask. So it's the reason I call what I do vegan design is because it doesn't include animal products, as well as not testing. Cruelty free just means it's not tested, which is great, but that's why I say vegan design rather than cruelty free, because I don't use the animal products. But there's paint that has animal products in, and then there's animal tested ingredients. So it's only a question to ask, and there are more suppliers now. It's getting easier and easier to source, but just to kind of raise awareness really of that. I bet you've got some lovely tips to share.
So not everyone's like, oh, that's great, but how can you bring nature indoors if it's if I've got an existing 1980s house, say, for instance? There's the quickest way to do it is to do naked windows, to bring your blinds up above your window height. So your windows will look taller, and then that gets as much natural daylight, which is really important for our circadian rhythm.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good idea.
Throw in operable windows, so basically opening windows everywhere, and creating a cross breeze. So the best way is if the breeze goes from lower to higher and slightly diagonally. So sometimes you have to open another window in a different room in an existing house, then you can do that. I've also just in someone's house put some mirror on the window reveals inside, so that you're expanding the landscape and the lighting as well.
That's a nice idea.
And then if you're building or planner, basically I'd look at the land, the orientation of a building, and very much where the sun goes down, like we did in years and years ago. It's in our DNA. We look at how to live off the land within the sunlight, the water, the biodiversity that's all around, and it should be that we're all working together and collaborating together. That it shouldn't just be an architect over to a designer, over to an engineer. We should all be looking together with Biophilic principles and techniques to create the best thing that is landscapes, that's all native planting, because our wildlife might not like something that's too tropical here. So I
think you've hit something there, which is kind of that feels like the new collaborative way of working, is to kind of get everybody in, all the stakeholders in early, and just not for it to be, because the tradition was kind of like architect to interior designers, it was a conveyor belt, but it didn't come out in the best way. The best way is
everyone's working like that rather than like that. So and it's very much, I will look at the landscape as much as I'll look at the way people are moving around a building, the wayfinding, as well as the lighting, the design, the fixtures, the finishings, and bringing community in, to make us feel better and less isolated. I feel we need to get back to work. Home offices are great, and yes, spend time, but we need to be talking to people again, and it's no one's fault, is it? But we sort of have a safer environment in the workplace, so that we can get everyone back to work and get everyone's mental health back to normal.
I mean, we know we can manage, and we know how to make those workstations more comfortable, but to me it's a ticking time bomb of mental health problems, people not being happy in their work, employers losing people. I think we can do it, but I think we will very quickly be wanting to gravitate back into kind of spaces, even if it's just on a couple of days a week, kind of satellite offices, something. But I think humans need humans, and I don't think that we'll be able to carry on like this for all that long.
No, absolutely. So I could talk to you all day, and I think maybe
Angela, so could I.
Another time as well, so that we can keep on talking. Conscious that we're probably going to be talking for too long for everyone.
That's fine. It's so lovely to speak to you, and please keep in touch. It's really nice to properly meet you. Well, I hope to meet you properly in person soon too.
Absolutely. So I'm going to stop this recording and I'll just sort of say goodbye to you. But thank you, everyone, that one person who's listening.
Thanks so much.
Sorry.